Hello, welcome to Caldwell County Today. I'm Paige Counts, Public Information Officer for Caldwell County. Joining me today is Pam Culbert, Animal Control Director.
Hey,
Pam.
good to be here.
Thank you for being here. And you have a rabies clinic coming up in October. Tell us when and where.
We're going to be doing a rabies clinic. We have some veterinarians that are coming. They will be doing 1-year vaccines. If your animal has never had a vaccine before, it'll have to get the 1-year vaccine. They'll also be doing 3-year vaccines. If your animal's been vaccinated before, it can get a 3-year vaccine, which will save you some time and some money. The clinic will be held from 1 to 4 in the parking lot of the Health and Human Services building in front of the Sheriff's Office.
How much are vaccines?
They are $7 each. That's 1-year or 3-year. They're the same cost, and that'll be have to be paid in cash. They don't accept checks or debit or credit cards. We don't have a way to do that when we're doing a drive-through clinic like that.
What animals can be vaccinated?
Dogs and cats can be vaccinated at the clinic. You can bring 1 or you can bring 5, or I know people have more than that, so you can load them up and bring them. You'll drive up. We are asking that everyone wear a mask when they're having interaction with anyone at the clinic. But you'll wear a mask, you'll drive up, they'll get your information, they'll need your driver's license or state ID. They'll fill out your information, and then you'll be forwarded on to the veterinarian that'll be giving the vaccines. So,
about how long does the whole process take?
Depending on the number of animals you have, if you have 1, filling out the paperwork is fairly simple. Waiting in line is what takes the most time, and that really varies depending on the number of people we have and what time you come. We do ask that people don't come super early this year because I understand there's another event going on over there prior to our event. Our event does not start at 1, so we would ask that folks not start coming until at least 12:30 or 12:45.
Okay. Why is it important to vaccinate your animals?
Well, number 1 is North Carolina state law. Any animal over the age of 4 months has to be vaccinated for rabies. Dogs, cats, and even ferrets. Ferrets take a little bit different vaccine, which we don't offer. And so you need to make sure that they are current on those vaccines at all times. Just like anything else, if your animal's outside at all, comes in contact, if you have a water bowl sitting outside for your animal, for when it's outside, and say a raccoon comes up and drinks out of that water at night, a raccoon, skunk, coyote, any of those outside wildlife mammals can carry the vaccine or can carry the virus. So if it comes up, gets saliva in that bowl, your animal goes and drinks after it, they've been exposed. So, and there's really no way to know that if that's happened. So it's really important to protect your animal, to protect you. There is no cure for rabies virus. I cannot stress that enough. There is no cure. If your animal is exposed, it's unvaccinated, and it contracts the virus, it will not live. So if you love your animals and you want to protect your animals and yourself, vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate.
What if I have a cat that is a house cat and does not go outside? Does it still need to be vaccinated?
There is no stipulation in North Carolina state law. It is very specific that says any animal, 4 months of age or older. Doesn't matter whether it stays in the house because they can always get out. I mean, we have all the time people calling saying it's a house cat. We open the door, it darted outside. So there's no better way to protect your animal than to get it vaccinated. Indoor, outdoor, both. Stays indoor all the time, get it vaccinated. Anything can happen.
What kind of animals carry rabies?
Well, I actually printed off a little thing that I can kind of go over here. And I printed this from the North Carolina Department of Public Health. Rabies, it's the North Carolina Division of Health and Human Services. In North Carolina, the most common type of rabies is raccoon variant rabies. It's found commonly in raccoons, skunks, red and gray foxes, coyotes, wolves, groundhogs, and beavers. Bats also carry rabies, but they have their own bat variant. So any mammal can become infected with rabies. The virus can affect domestic pets, agricultural animals such as cows and horses, and people when they're exposed to rabid wildlife. So you never know what's coming across your yard in the middle of the night. If you have outdoor animals and you feed them outside, they highly recommend that you stay there with them. You only give them the amount of food that they're going to eat. Otherwise, you're going to be attracting these wildlife animals onto your property and possibly exposing your animal. So it's really important to cut down on all those types of things if you can. And in North Carolina, the rabies law requires all owned dogs, cats, and ferrets vaccinated against rabies by the age of 4 months. So they will start vaccinating at 3 months. So between that 3-month and 4-month age, they need to get their rabies shot as soon as possible after they turn 3 months old. And one shot's not enough. It has to be kept current, because a rabies vaccine is like any other vaccine. For a virus, you have to have boosters occasionally, and with the rabies virus, they don't know enough about it still to say that you can go 10 years without it. It's either 1 year if you had a 1-year vaccine, or if you got a 3-year vaccine, 3 years from that date, it needs to be updated again for that reason, just to make sure that that protection is there. So, they never recommend that cats are kept outside unsupervised, because the #1 domesticated animal in North Carolina that carries rabies are cats. And I know we have a lot of feral cat colonies. I know we have a lot of outdoor cats. And they're the #1 species that ends up with rabies, the rabies virus, because of that. So,
What can you tell me about confirmed rabies cases in North Carolina?
in North Carolina, they've been decreasing. There was a period of time where they went up pretty highly. In '91, they only had just a couple of cases of rabies in the whole state. In 1997, that went up to almost 900. In 2020, which is the most recent information they have online, in 2020, it was almost 300. So it had come down by 600. However, that goes back to keeping animals vaccinated. We have had 1 confirmed case this year. We had 4 confirmed cases last year in our county. Fortunately, the last incident we had, the domestic animal that was exposed was current on rabies vaccine. So the difference between that is an animal that's exposed to rabies that is current on vaccine undergoes a 45-day quarantine, where they're kept away from other animals, away from people other than to be fed. If it's a dog, of course, to be walked to use the bathroom and that sort of thing. If they are unvaccinated, it is a 6-month quarantine. Most veterinarians' offices won't do that for you. Animal control cannot do that for you. We don't have the space. So short of building a lot on your property, probably 99 out of 100 times the animal's going to be euthanized, because there's no way to protect the public, the family, other animals from the possibility of that animal having rabies.
Another reason to get your animal vaccinated.
Absolutely.
If an animal has to be quarantined a vaccinated animal has to be quarantined, how does that take place?
What happens in those situations, if they're vaccinated, it's basically an observation instead of a quarantine, because it is vaccinated. So it can be kept at home in a room separate from other animals and things like that. As long as no one's sleeping in that room, nobody's in that room all the time. If it's a dog, they can be walked but put right back in the room. It has to be on a leash, owner holding on to the leash, and they have to be the one to take care of it. Versus if it's unvaccinated, it has to be outside in a lot, away from everybody, where other animals can't get to it, the whole 9 yards, for that time period. So it's a huge difference. Makes a huge difference in the health and well-being of your animal, so it's super important to take those steps.
How can people know if a raccoon or other mammal comes into their yard that is rabid, or they suspect is rabid?
Well, unfortunately, distemper can mimic rabies to a point. So just because an animal is stumbling or that sort of thing, or even if it's out during the day, raccoons will come out during the day looking for food. I know growing up, I was taught, well, if wildlife's out during the day, it's rabid. That's not necessarily true. They can be stumbling and have distemper or have rabies. But #1 thing with rabies is they are generally over-aggressive if they have rabies. Example was the animal that was exposed last week. The raccoon actually attacked that animal. So that's the difference. Normally, if you approach a raccoon or a skunk or something of that nature, they're just as scared of you as you are of them, and they'll run, they'll go hide. Or a skunk might spray you, which is also terrible. But 9 times out of 10, they're as scared of you as you are of them. So if one's coming at you, acting aggressive, hissing, charging at you, you can't deter it. That's usually a pretty good sign. But also in the state of North Carolina, Animal Control and I think other law enforcement agencies have received notification from the state that says if there is no contact with a person, if there is no positive known contact with a domestic animal, you are to call North Carolina Wildlife, not Animal Control. They want you to contact them for any suspicious animals that are out as long as they've not had that contact, and let them handle it. They have wildlife biologists that can come out. They have, their wildlife officers and that sort of thing. They want you to let them handle it, not Animal Control. We've basically been told unless there's contact, we are for domesticated animals. And
we'll put the number for North Carolina Wildlife on the screen so folks will have that number should they come across an animal. What about cases of rabies in humans? We know that it's possible, but how often do we see that?
It doesn't happen very often, not in this state. In like third world countries and things like that, it happens often. In the state of North Carolina, until 2011, we had not had a case since 1955. But in 2011, we did have a case in a human. And again, there is no cure for rabies. So if you can track the rabies virus, there's really not anything they can do for you. But it being that, I understand that's 10 years ago. However, that proves it still can happen. So protect yourself, protect your animals.
Pam, while you're here, I don't want to miss an opportunity to ask you about all the things going on with animal control because you have a lot going on. Tell me what else besides rabies clinics, what's going on with animal control?
Well, we're getting a new facility, which we're super excited about, in about a year or so. I know that all depends on weather and those sorts of things. It's going to be a bigger facility. Right now, all of our animals are basically housed in one area. In the new facility, we will have a separate animal for adoptable dogs. We'll have a separate animal or area for adoptable cats. We'll have a separate area for strays on both, but they'll be separate. There'll be one for dogs, one for cats. And we will also have a separate area for isolation or quarantine. Isolation is if we get an animal in and it's injured or it's sick and it's being treated, it'll be housed in that area. Or if an animal bites someone and has to be brought to animal control for quarantine, they'll be kept in that area. So everything will be completely separate, which we don't have the luxury of having now. And it's going to almost double our capacity as far as that goes. However, I want to stress that, however, once we're full, we're full. The state regulates that we hold strays that come in for 3 business days. So if we have a week where we have a lot of stray calls and we get full in like the matter of 2 days with stray animals, we're not going to be able to take anything else because that stray hold period is not up. So until that 3 business days is up, and I say business days because we don't count weekends. If we get full on Thursday, come Monday we're not going to be empty. We have to give it that full amount of time. And we also have started working a lot with rescue groups. So we're trying to move as many as we can out through rescue groups rather than have to euthanize, because that's the last thing we want to do to good animals. Obviously, we know we can't hold them forever. So we try to, within a reasonable amount of time from that hold release to at least a couple of days, give these rescue groups an opportunity. All of them work on foster homes. They don't have facilities, massive facilities with animals, places to hold animals. So when they have fosters come up and they can pull the animals, they do. So we try to give them a day or 2 after that to be able to pull them because nobody wants a good animal that can find a home to be euthanized if it's not necessary. So the public has been very receiving of that, and they have been very helpful with that in understanding that, and we greatly appreciate that. It's just a super busy time of year. Puppies, kittens, all of that are being born. You know, it's nice outside. Animals run loose all summer long. People are outside. People get bit. Things happen. So we appreciate the public's help in, you know, giving us that grace to be able to find these animals homes. And a lot of them honestly go up north because they have very strict spay-neuter laws. So puppies and kittens aren't being born. So they love them up there, and they will take, within the rescue's capabilities, they will take what they can get. And they go up north and find super homes because they're just happy to have them.
Approximately how many rescue groups are you working with?
We have one main rescue that pulls from us constantly. And then we have several others that pull occasionally. So the more rescue groups we come in contact with, we just got a new contact last week. I have probably 100 rescue groups. However, they're not all local. And so sometimes what they do is there's one group we work with that is super about working with other rescue groups that are not in the area, and they will facilitate that. They'll pull the animals from their rescue, and then their rescue will transfer to the other rescue. They will even put these animals on transport. One of the ladies the lady that's over that particular rescue has even done transport. They didn't have anybody to drive the transport truck, 36-hour trip up to Maryland and back to get these animals up there so that they don't have to be euthanized, and I think that's wonderful. And that's a blessing for our county and the number of animals we have.
To be a rescue group, what's required?
Some shelters and some facilities will let just anybody pull that says they're a rescue or has a rescue name, that sort of thing. For us, for our protection, to make sure that they are part of, they are registered through the state and all of that, the federal government, we only use 501c3. If you have that paperwork and you are a rescue group, then you know we're happy to work with you if we can. So all you have to do is provide me with that. The president can then tell me if they have a puller, someone that's in charge of pulling the animals. If they don't, then the president can say, hey, we'll take these animals. We'll take this from your rescue list, because that's what I do. I send out a rescue list, and it goes to all of them. So everybody that's on that list has ample opportunity. And I tell them the first person to respond, the first group to respond that can pull this the soonest, that's who it'll go to. The only thing we charge them is for the vaccines and the wormer that we give, and they all, if they're 4 months old or older, get that rabies vaccine before they leave. And that's the only thing we charge them. So it's like $30 to pull an animal, which is very reasonable because they're not having to pay that vet bill to go just to get the shots or whatever, which most reputable rescues will take them to the vet anyway and get them checked out. They have to, before they cross over the North Carolina state line, they have to have a health certificate. So they're going to do that anyway, but if they've already got these vaccines, then that helps them out as well.
You also work with, I believe it's Pet Sense?
Yes, Pet Sense here in Lenoir.
In Lenoir, with cats. Tell us a little bit about that relationship.
So what happens with that is Pet Sense has a program where they have cat kennels set up in their store. So they allow us to bring so many cats up. They tell us what they can hold at the time, and of course right now with everybody having staffing issues, it's not as many as they can hold at other times. But they tell us how many they can house up there. They have a copy of our adoption contract. They also have a copy of a form that has to be filled out that lets us know whether you rent your home, whether you own your home, those sorts of things. Renters have very specific guidelines they have to follow when they rent. Some of them will not allow you to have an animal. So protection for the animal so that it isn't getting taken home and then turned back in or shuffled around or here and there. They've obviously not had the best life generally when they come to animal control anyway. So to protect them, make things easier for the animals, we do require that if you rent, don't own your home, even if it's in grandpa's name, if it's in dad's name. If you're young and you live with mom or dad, we have to have a letter from them stating, hey, yes, I'm giving them permission. That way we know it's okay for the animal to be there and the animal's not having to be returned after a couple of days, because that's tough. That's tough. That's hard on the animals. So, but they handle all of that. They fill out the adoption contract. They send us that form. If they don't live in our county, we do call their county animal control just to make sure they've not turned in a lot of animals, or they've not had cruelty complaints, or they've not had dangerous dogs, all of those things, again, for protection of the animal. And then if they do live in our county and we don't have anything where there have been any animal control issues, then we just automatically approve to adopt. It is very important, though, if you're looking to us to adopt, if you do have other animals, that they're current on the rabies vaccine, because that could be a holdup as well. It's North Carolina state law, so we have to enforce that. So if you come and you've got animals that are not current, we will ask you to get them current on vaccine before we'll do the adoption.
Where can people find your adoptable animals?
They are posted on Facebook by you. We send them to you, and they're posted on our Facebook page, but they're also posted on Caldwell County website under Animal Control.
So, and we try to keep those current.
Right. We also have a board outside the facility, so if on the weekend you're just curious and you don't have Facebook, or you're riding by Animal Control on your way somewhere, we do have a board outside that has pictures with a little bit of information about our animals on that as well. You can just stop in and look at that.
And people can just stop in now and see the animals,
Sure.
right?
Sure. We close to the public at 4:45. So in order to give you time, if you're really looking for an animal, we would like for you to be there at least by 4 o'clock. If you come in at 4:30, 15 minutes is not always enough time for you to interact with an animal and us get paperwork done. So it's really important that you come like at 4 o'clock. We're open the second Saturday of each month only, but we open at 10 and we're there until 2. So again, by about 1:15, you need to be there. That gives us time to get the animal out, let you interact. Animals are like people, they have personalities. Mm-hmm. So you might like the looks of an animal and get it out and start interacting with it, and either you decide it's not for you or the animal just doesn't really care either way. And you may choose a totally different animal than what you thought you were going to get. So they have personalities too. So, they don't always mesh, even though we might want them to, but it's good to interact with them just to make sure.
You also have an adoption trailer. Tell us about that and how you use it.
So what we do with our adoption trailer is we're under an ambient temperature law with the state. Any indoor facilities, doesn't necessarily say outdoor, but if we're at events, we can't really provide the airflow that needs to be to keep them cool or keep them warm. So we purchased an adoption trailer that has heat and it has air. And it houses, depending on the size of the animals, just a different number of animals. And we can hook that up to a truck. We can take it to an event. We've taken it out to Friendship Forward. We have a request to take it to another place right now. We're just trying to work out the details of that. We can take it to festivals. We can take it to any of the little town festivals, anything like that. Again, Friendship Forward, we've partnered with them. They come in and do an animal of the week. They try to do it weekly. When things are crazy, it doesn't necessarily happen, and we totally understand that. But that gives us the opportunity to take it out, no matter whether it's 35 degrees outside or if it's 95 degrees outside. We still have a way to get our animals out of the facility and out and about so that people can see them.
How can people support you?
We take donations. We take food donations, dogs, cats. Puppies and kittens are the main thing that we need at this time. Puppy food, kitten food, high protein, that sort of thing. We can always use things like Dawn dish detergent. We can use laundry detergent. We can actually even use dishwasher pods, like the Cascade pods, things like that, because we do put the bowls and things in the dishwasher with the high heat water to disinfect. We also put disinfectant in there, but we still need that detergent, so we can use those types of things. Coranda beds, that they keep the animals up off the floor. With those, we don't risk them tearing up pillows or sheets or blankets or things like that and getting that down in our drain system and clogging our drain. The Coranda beds keep them up off the floor. They have a cloth base that they can lay on. Cats and dogs both have them. And so they're super nice for the animals and for our facility, just because it's so much nicer for them to have that instead of a little homemade pallet on the floor with blankets and things like that. So towels, we can use towels when we're bathing the animals, things like that. Just any number of things that we can use for them. Collars, leashes, because most of the animals that we get come in without a collar on. And it's easier to put a collar on them to take them outside to interact with them than it is just a slip lead. So anything like that.
Can folks volunteer with you?
Yes, we have a volunteer program. We have an application that you fill out. You have to be 16 or older. 16 and 17, a parent has to sign the form for consent. 18 and older, obviously you can sign your own form. And we have hours listed on that form that you can sign up for. We do like to get at least a 3-month commitment just because that keeps a regular flow. Mm-hmm. And if you can't do it more than 3 months, that's fine. That's 3 months that we've had you there to help the animals, get them out, play with them. They're only allowed to interact with the adoptable animals just because sometimes when they come as a stray, we're not sure of their temperament. We do have animals there that are aggressive. So we have to kind of look at that aspect of it as well. But they come in, they get them out, they play with them, they can bathe puppies, do those sorts of things. So it can be a lot of fun and very rewarding for a volunteer.
Pam, we have talked about a lot of stuff, not just your rabies clinic, but I felt like this was a good time for you to share everything that's going on with, well, maybe not everything, but a lot of the things going on with animal control.
Sure.
Remind us again, when is your rabies clinic?
It is October 23rd from 1 to 4 in the parking lot of the Health and Human Services building where the Health Department and DSS is, right in front of the Sheriff's Office.
And it is a drive-thru clinic?
Yes, drive-thru clinic. 1 year vaccines, 3 year vaccines for dogs and cats. You'll remain in your vehicle. Please have a mask on. Our staff will have masks on as well. And bring cash because they won't be able to take a check or a debit card. And just have the correct amount of change for however many animals you're getting vaccinated. Please also remember in the state of North Carolina, animals are considered property. So if you're coming to get vaccines for someone else's animal, like your mom or an aunt or uncle or niece or nephew or just a friend or a neighbor, the vaccine needs to be put in their name. So you'll need to have that information available when you fill out the rabies certificate, because in the event your animal would go missing and it would come to animal control, if it's in your neighbor's name or in your aunt or uncle's name, by law that's a record of ownership. So that would be the only person we could return that animal to.
So good information. Pam, thank you for sitting down and talking to us.
Absolutely.
And thank you for watching Caldwell County Today.